there, I'm Jennifer Tryon. Well, if you want maximum impact for minimum effort, this is the quilt block for you. I am going to cut the Tumbler today. It's super easy and made so fast because I'm using the Tumbler quilting dies. These are from the Patchwork series, and you can take a look. They come 1, 2, 3, 4 sizes, nested just like this. They're a thin metal die, which means they're constructed to go through multiple layers of fabric. You see, when you cut this out with the ruler, you've got to measure here, you've got to make sure these are on the right angle, you've got to measure here. But when you cut with the die, everything is so uniform and so perfect every single time. Plus, I'm going to cut 8 layers at once, so it makes very quick work of it. So this is a great way, if you're a beginner, to take your quilting to the next level, or if you're a more advanced quilter already, you'll be able to knock the Tumbler quilt out in no time. No rotary cutter needed at all. Okay, let's get going. I'm going to start with my Gemini plates, and here's the sandwich. I'm going to first lay down my clear plastic plate. Then I'm going to add my metal shim, and I'm going to cut right into the metal shim. Then I'm going to add my fabric. So here I'm using a fat 1/8. So I'm going to fold it once, and I'm going to fold it over again. So I'm going to use the entire fat 1/8 all in one cut. And I'm going to lay my die down next. Then comes my plastic shim, and then my clear plastic plate for the top. I'm just going to run it through the Gemini. So you'll hear it working in there, pushing that fabric down into that metal shim. Let's take a look. Wow. And look at how little waste on one fat 1/8. That's pretty good, right? And now we've got 8 perfect tumblers. So what you're gonna do is choose some corresponding fabrics and cut those ones out in the exact same way. Now you're going to want to pair these up 2 by 2 because we're going to chain piece these. That's going to make faster work out of getting these tumblers together. But now I don't want you to line them up flush straight like this. Instead, in order to achieve a straight line strip, I want you to turn them opposite ways. And I'm just going to sew a straight 1/4 inch seam from here to here. And then when I finally do open it up, it'll be straight. I'm going to go ahead and start pairing these 2 by 2. Now, if it's important to you how they line up, you're going to want to pay attention to how you're stacking them. But if you like the scrappy look, you can just pair them up however you want. So even though these don't match up like a square in traditional patchwork, it's still just straight line sewing from one side to the next. Pay attention to how long you want your project to be, that you don't just do one endless strip, because you're probably going to want to sew multiple strips together. Once you've got a big stack of them, we're going to start chain piecing, 1 by 1 by 1. If it helps, take a scrap of fabric and use it as a leader. That's going to stop the tip of your good fabric from getting caught down inside the throat plate, just because it's so thin and at a point. It just keeps the needle and everything engaged and ready to go once the good fabric gets there. And don't even stop to cut your thread. This is what chain piecing is. You're just going to keep going. I can already tell how fast this project is going to come together. And now I've got a whole huge chain. I like using the little cutter on the side of my sewing machine to detach these very fast. Now we've got a whole bunch of 2s. And you can see when you open them up, you get this straight edge. And you can see how they're going to start to come together. So now what I want to do is take my 2s and sew them into 4s. So I'm just going to line these up and sew from here to here. Again, don't stop to cut your thread, just keep on sewing. It was fast. Now look how long our strips are getting. And you're just going to keep going, same idea. Keep lining up the opposite ends. And just keep doing this until you have a series of strips, as long as you need your project to be. Now that I've got my strips as long as I want them, now I can take it to the ironing board and press them. Now I'm just going to sew my strips together, pulling out the pins as I go. So now you can see I'm getting lots of strips. What I love about the Tumbler is you've got a few options once you get to this point. You could go for something sort of cool if you alternated the solids and get this kind of cool bow tie pattern. See how they all look like bow ties? Love that. Or you can decide to stagger your tumblers for a more traditional patchwork tumbler look. That's what I'm gonna do for this one, even though I do think the bow ties look pretty cool. Next time. So just make sure you center your one side in the middle of the end, and you might want to pin that because keeping things centered is going to be important here. Now when I open it up, I'm starting to get that nice patchwork tumbler look. And this is great for anyone that doesn't want to have to nest up seams. And then you'll take your strips of 2 and turn it into strips of 4, as long as they all come together in the end. And voila! Okay, don't worry about the jagged bits. Those are going to get trimmed off. So I'm going to take it to the ironing board, I'm going to press all of my seams down, then I'm going to trim off the ends. See, I told you this came together fast and easy. Now, you could keep going and make it as big or small as you want. I'm going to trim the ends here using my rotary cutter and mat. Check it out. Wouldn't this make a great pillow sham? I love it. You don't have to stop at this size. It would be just as easy to keep going and make this a full bed-sized quilt. I love how fast something like this can come together because I've cut it with the dies.